So I got chosen to be part of Alex Hormozi's 100. And this was basically where he was selecting 100 people to try and grow a school community as quickly as possible in 90 days. And his team was going to train us for free. And it was just going to be an intensive, all out program that he was then going to use the results in his book. And I don't say this to brag, although I was proud that I got picked because I completely failed. I think I was like number 75 out of the 100. And there are certain things that I had to learn the hard way. I just wasn't ready in terms of my offer to actually take advantage of that training. But I learned a huge amount. However, I did make similar mistakes, and I want you to avoid these mistakes because I've actually now made these mistakes twice in my online career. I've been online for about 11 or 12 years now, and these are things that I already knew to be true. And yet, I got caught up in the hype of the challenge and the strategies that they were trying to get us to do. And I made those same mistakes over and over. And that's because there's certain things that work online and there's certain truths that you need to understand, especially about communities and subscription models. So if you're growing a school community, you've maybe got caught up in the hype as well. And don't get me wrong, I love school communities. I have one. I think they're fantastic. But you need to make sure that you're getting it in the right way because I've actually now had a number of school communities, and obviously the ones that came before did not work. So the school community I have now is great. It's working. It's starting to grow, but it wasn't always like that. So I want to talk about in this video what people generally get wrong about Skool, the subscription model, and the pros and cons to different types of setups, especially when it comes to YouTube. Because one of the great things about being in this challenge was actually that I got to speak to a guy inside who was basically, he's the data guy of Skool, should we say. His name is Kevin. Shout out to Kevin if you're actually ever watching this. But Kevin is a fantastic guy and he makes huge amounts of money on the Skool platform and he really understands. He basically digs into the data for all of the big community platforms on YouTube and also on Skool. But also these are people that are growing their schools with YouTube as well. So what he told me really surprised me. And that was that he said that most people on YouTube going from free to paid doesn't work because the data shows that when it comes to YouTube, that actually your YouTube channel is your free community. So if we look at this typical model here and what people have been trying to teach over and over, and that's that you should go from the attention that you have. So in this case, it is YouTube. And then you want to go to a free community because it's probably the best type of lead magnet where you can nurture people, especially if you're not very good at sales and so on. So it's a great way to go straight, get them in there, get them in a community, nurture them, and then elevate them to paid. But the issue is when it comes to YouTube, generally above other types of platforms, we're often giving huge amounts of free content already. We're giving lots of videos, maybe multiple videos every week. These videos, especially from a business point of view, may be going into a great level of detail. So therefore, you don't need to give people more free. You've already given them enough free. What they may want is the next step, and that would be to buy. Now, it's not to say that you don't start with free and then switch to paid later, but actually having a free to paid model. And I've seen this actually, even though Kevin told me, I've seen this work out for myself. And I've actually then looked at other creators who are doing this. And the ones that are going directly to paid were actually doing better. Not always, it does depend on what they're doing. But overall, I saw the ones actually were getting more sales by going directly to paid, especially now as you have a 7-day free trial. You can let people test it out and you can let them go inside if you want. But otherwise, assuming that you've got enough people in the community already, you've got enough testimonials and results and proof. So that's why you may want to start with free, get the results for people, and then get them inside. Then obviously get them the results in the community, get the testimonials, and then close it and then start charging because now you have the proof. Now you can show that you can do and deliver on what you were saying. And therefore your channel, if you start to look at your channel as a community in itself, then you're able to really start focusing congruently on getting people towards that community as the next natural step. And if you want, they can essentially do a free trial. But by thinking about your channel as a community in itself, you actually start to bring people together. YouTube is bringing a lot more community-driven features such as comments and posts and other features that you can actually have as different ways to engage with your audience. So start to look at YouTube as your free community. And what I can also tell you as someone that has tested the free to paid model as well is that you get a massive brain drain. So in the beginning, when you're creating a community, about 10 to 15% of your audience are going to be really, really active. They're going to be the game changers, the winners, the people that are probably going to be successful. And this sort of carries throughout most online courses, training programs, coaching programs. There will generally be, if you're going more high ticket, then your ability to get people results will probably increase. But as a whole, that sort of 10 to 15% of action takers are the ones who are going to be winners no matter what. And those are the people that are going to be ready to take the next step, which is going to be moving to your paid. So if you're always taking out the most active, the most engaged, the people getting the results, then you're going to have a huge brain drain that's going to be going into your paid community, which, yes, is great. It's going to make your paid community better, but then it makes this one dull and bored. And that means that you have to show up in the free more than you do even in the paid to try and drive it forward, because you've removed the people that were pushing the community forward. So even if you look at books on starting a cult, they talk about having the sort of 5 to 6 key people, the few of the right people that are actually pushing the community forward. So the people that drive the community, it isn't always you. It is in the beginning, but you don't want to be the person continuously pushing it forward. You need a few key players. You need to create your mini cult. Don't quote me on this, but there's a great book called Influence where it goes into this in more detail. But it's the same principles basically as growing a community. So if you keep removing those key players and pushing them into your paid, then you're going to have a massive brain drain, and it's going to make this harder to grow. So I generally think YouTube directly to paid is a better idea. Now, obviously, there is extra problems that come with that, but the benefit is that you then have a simple 2-step business. People may also have, say, a newsletter or some freebie that they're trying to give away to get more emails. It depends whether you want to be sending out emails. As I said, you could have a free trial, in which case you're getting people coming in anyways, and you can capture their email address. But it's up to you whether you want to try and have a newsletter to be able to warm and nurture people to the next step. But for the most part, if you were just doing this because you say didn't have the time to send out emails, I'm terrible with sending out emails. I love the idea of it, but I've let so many large email lists die over the years because I'm not keeping up with sending out regular emails. And it's something I need to get better at, but it's not something I really do much of at this moment in time. So I actually tend to do this one. And that is going straight from your YouTube videos to your community and your about page where you're offering a free trial. So it's a simple 2-step business between your channel, which is your attention, and then your offer, which is your community. And if something isn't working, it's normally because your message isn't congruent. So if it's not converting, it can only mean 2 things. And that's either that your traffic, your attention, your videos, the messaging there is wrong. So perhaps you're targeting the wrong audience, you're getting the wrong people watching your videos, and they're not interested in the offer. Or if you're sure you're getting the right attention, but people aren't buying, then your offer isn't right. It's not hitting the pain points. It's not driving enough urgency. So for example, I'm kind of going through a bit of this tweaking myself right now, where I'm trying to align this because I am making sales, but since I've changed things slightly, I'm making fewer sales. And that's because I'm trying to align. This is not hot enough. It's not congruent. It is congruent, but my messaging was very generalist in terms of YouTube. And I went more vlogging style, but now I've realized that this doesn't drive enough urgency. There's not enough pain in the offer because I need to be fixing a problem that people want to get over. So now I'm targeting more businesses as a way to say, okay, I believe that vlogging on YouTube is the fastest way to grow your channel and brand while also humanizing your brand and making sales for your products and services. So that aligns as something that to a group of people that are potentially willing to pay to overcome that problem because they want to grow their communities, they want to grow their online courses, their coaching businesses, and other types of online businesses with YouTube. So therefore, that's a problem that people would potentially be willing to pay. So you have to make sure that your message is congruent, but also that your offer is right. And what I love about this is you can actually easily overcome those two steps. But then we have our community. And I think the next problem that people tend to get wrong without actually even thinking about it is they initially, myself included, and this is where I made a mistake twice, and that was really not thinking about the monthly subscription part. People hate signing up for monthly subscriptions. If they take a month off, they often will cancel it and want to come back. They see it as something that they can turn on and off whenever they're not using it. And also, you have to continuously try to deliver value to maintain people's attention. And it's very difficult to maintain people's attention long term. So unless you have a community that is a lot like toilet paper, so what I mean by that is it's a sort of commodity that people are going to buy over and over and over out of necessity, which is why you see a lot of the big communities they talk about, especially in Skool and in the Skool community and group, they go on about these communities that are the benchmark. They've got low churn rates, they're growing fast, and they've normally almost always partnered with something else that ties people in. So I see security ones, but they then tied them in with a software and also updates on security and so on. So if you want them to update you on the latest news while also servicing the software and then giving you the community where you can ask feedback and everything, then it's not really the community that they're just signing up for. The community is part of what they're signing up for, which is an ongoing continuity service. So you also see other people go high level and other softwares that they try to tie people into. And that's, again, to maintain people on a subscription model for something that they don't want to cancel. Because email automation tools, platforms like Skool or websites, we're less likely to cancel often. We have to really think about it because it's a pain in the butt to cancel. So you want to make it difficult or something that they just want and will continuously use, so they don't even see it as something that they would ever consider canceling. And for most of us, our community is not that. We cannot deliver ongoing. And if you are trying to maintain people, because the first couple of weeks, keeping people, getting them to take action is the most important to retaining them, then you've got to put huge amounts of work into that. And if you're only doing a low ticket subscription model and you're not making much money from that, you might be putting huge amounts of work in to retain people that maybe only have a 50% retention rate or whatever. I'm making it up. But the point is, it may not be worth the time that you're putting in to try and retain them. And for the most part, what I've seen is that you really need to get people to commit to at least 3 months for any type of online education, because people go at different speeds. There are some people that just go all guns blazing, but there are then other ones that they dabble and they keep coming back and they're doing it part-time. So they need a few months to commit to start getting mini wins, to believe in it and go deeper. And Skool doesn't have a 3-month option. So some other platforms do, but Skool doesn't. So it's monthly or annual. So what I would say is, if you don't want to commit to trying to maintain and keep people active continuously to keep retention and churn low, then you are going to want to go to annual. And I think annual, the way to look at annual is that you're more of a normal course that has an additional supportive community to help people with implementation, because people care about implementation more. And if you get more money up front, then you're able to deliver more value up front because you've got them for the long term. And if they dip in and out, it's not such a big deal. And you're not having to work your balls off to try and keep them active and keep them inside to try and retain them out of the fear of losing people, which is, stressful. And also there's a benefit to annual, because if people don't take action in a year, they either have to pay again or they leave. And the mistake I've made with courses in the past is I've given them lifetime access. And now I'm still paying for platforms for outdated courses, and people still want access and they still want to go back to it. So I'm paying for these costs to maintain this infrastructure for something that I don't even service anymore. So the benefit of annual is it's not lifetime and you only have to commit to 1 year on that platform. But in there lies an additional problem. So I would say for most people who are creating some type of online training program with a supported angle is that you're probably going to want to go for annual. Okay? So I would just put that straight out there now. I wouldn't even have a monthly option. straight to annual, because people will potentially take monthly over it. But here lies the problem. If you're committing to 1 year and you only go for annual, and let's say you do coaching calls on top, then you now have to commit to doing those coaching calls. And if you only get 5 people to sign up and then you change your mind, then you're still having to maintain and work through a year to get through all those coaching calls. So that is another trap. If you are unsure about how well this program is going to work and whether you want to stick at it long term, then monthly may still be the better option, because now you can cancel at any time if it's not working for you, and that's it, the end of finished. So you only have to work out the next month and then tell people you won't be renewing, you'll be canceling everyone. So you have the flexibility in that sense to make sure that it's something that's worth your time. So you could start off with a few months of monthly, see how it works, if people are signing up. And then if you want, if people are only staying for a month or two, so you'd rather get them to come and do more, you could make the annual so appealing. So the annual could be the same price as 3 months. So most people are going to take it. Or at that point, you could just switch to annual. So those are the pros and the cons that you really need to think about. You don't want to, you could have annual without calls, in which case you're just answering questions in the community. So it's not such a time suck. But obviously turning up to coaching calls may be a difficulty for you, depending on what it is that you're doing and what it is you want to do. So those are different things that you need to think about. There's obviously more that you need to think about, but I think those two things, and understanding the pros and the cons of annual versus monthly, and then the pros and the cons of having more than one community in terms of free to paid and so on. I think those are traps and things that people really need to think about, especially if you're a YouTube creator and you're an educational creator looking to monetize with Skool platforms. Now, as always, I will put links in the video description to our community if you would like help growing your Skool community with vlogging. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.